a win-win for everybody, not just a win-win for legislators, but most importantly, a win-win for parents, for students, for teachers, for educators, for schools across the entire state of Texas.
Governor Abbott forecasting a major breakthrough in his ongoing crusade to bring school choice to the Lone Star State. Now, backed by the Texas Senate and frankly pretty persuasive statewide poll numbers, Abbott believes he's got a deal with House Speaker Dade Phelan and previously reluctant rural Republican lawmakers. The mind-changing, vote-altering clincher, a major increase in funding for public schools, and a substantial pay raise for all Texas teachers. If the purported bargain holds during what's certain to be the next special session, Abbott will get a choice option that's far more expansive than any on the table thus far, with $10,400 per year for private school vouchers and no household income restrictions on a student's eligibility. Here's the fundamental pitch.
We want to make sure that every family has an opportunity to do what's best for their child, knowing that every child's different. I have families where one child may be in public school, the other is in private school with assistance, and I think the state's trying to provide, what we're trying to do is provide the best option for every family.
All right, panel, clearly the state is so flush with surplus money, they've sweetened this deal considerably. Paul Castro, you're an education professional. What do you make of it?
Yeah, I'm as much a historian as an educational professional. I think starting with the fact that this is probably unconstitutional. Article 7 does not talk about funding. Article 7 of the Texas Constitution funds a system of schools, doesn't say anything about sending money to individual students. And so there's already been an effort to try to amend the Constitution and make this work. Separately, if this $10,400 goes through, let's just say that all kids from the state of Texas go and get this voucher. It would take state funding from $55 billion a year to $95 billion a year. So no one's talking about the actual mechanics, what it would actually cost, and all of this assumes that that this is going to be a good thing for all kids, when in fact I believe it's going to essentially drain funds off the general revenue that's being spent for most of the schools and most of the kids who are in schools.
Highly constitutional. We don't pay much attention to that anyway with some of our legislation.
Well, we do, and it does say fund a system of schools. It does not say a government-run system of schools. So that's where, I think there's a problem there. Well, but you can have free public schools run by alternate groups. Polling routinely shows that Americans and Texans would like some form of school choice, including Black Democrats. So in most demographic groups, you're seeing that call for school choice. What I found interesting about the latest proposal is a little bit of an admission that basic student allotment is not everything a school gets to educate a pupil. So in the proposal, the ESA, Education Savings Accounts, get 75% of the state average, and that's just over $10,000. In actuality, schools get a lot of funding from different sources, and the state average is above $15,000 per pupil. So I think it's interesting. I think that sweetening the deal, as you put it, will help push it through, but we still need to move a lot of people in the House if we're going to see that happen. I think we do see a special session, whether it's this month or in February. That's going to be the question.
Marcus Davis, we've mentioned it several times on this program. Mark Jones's polling has shown that a majority of African-American urban Democrats would like some type of choice, particularly for lower-income households. You don't like this deal, I'm guessing.
No. I like to look at the deal and ask the why, right? Why do the majority of African-Americans want choice? Why do a certain number of Texans want choice? Why do a certain number of Americans want choice? Probably because the schools in their area suck, right? Probably because the education opportunities for their children is not so great, right? And why is that? Because we have $95 million that we can put to this, but we've only been putting $50 million to this, right? So that's the problem. We've always heard, particularly on the GOP, where they'll say you can't just throw money at it, but here's a throw money at it. It's one, not enough money, because why aren't we funding this to $15,000 per pupil instead of just $10,000 per pupil? Why aren't we equating the amount that a parent gets is the average amount of a private tuition in the state of Texas instead of the $10,000. So I just don't think that it stinks. It shows that we have not done our best effort, put our best foot forward in making education great, making all schools great, which is why people want a choice. But here's the reality. There's no way everybody can choose the best schools. It's just not a reality. Once the best schools line up, fill up, the reality is those parents are going to be stuck sending their kids back to the same school that they have sent them to before.
But do rising tides raise all ships? You know, I guess you talk to a lot of Republican lawmakers, mostly urban, but you do know some rural ones. They're the key here. They're the folks that have to get on board.
Yeah, and I think that the big thing was the per district allotment and or the student allotment and the teacher pay raises, and that was something that they wanted in there to be able to kind of start to move this through the House. And then I think it is sweetening the deal, but it's also saving time because the governor did say he was going to call another special session specifically for those items. So if you lump them all together, then you can get them done at the same time. But where I do think there's some concern, or should be some concern, is he seems that he's close to a deal. They're 2 days away from ending this special session. You know, Lieutenant Governor saying call them back in February. Do you really want to wait that amount of time? Let the Texas Association of School Boards get to these members. Let the districts get to these members. Let the teachers union get to these members and start to have that deal unravel in the meantime. I would think you'd want to call them back immediately and try to seal the deal while you can.
All right, Sue Lovell, you're actively rearing a granddaughter at home.
I sent 3 through the public school system, and I now have a grandchildren.
Do you think this choice proposal hurts the public schools?
I do. I think the money ought to be put back into the public school systems to raise them to the level that parents want. But look, what they're doing is they're giving you a certain amount of money, but they're not giving you enough to go buy that really good education that you're looking for, because the $10,000, you go look at the cost of private education, you're not going to go anywhere that you want to go for $10,000. So you're going to be out there looking, but you're going to end up getting private education, but not the high cost. You're going to be getting the ones that are lower. So are you kind of getting? They're sending them shopping for something they aren't going to be able to afford.
I'm sure this is going to be the first of many conversations about this. Okay.